So welcome everyone to the community stream for Alpha 3. So we have a very nice presentation prepared for you. So on the agenda today, we will discuss some of the feedback that you guys have given on Alpha 3. Many of you have already played it. We've seen that it's great, and even better, some amazing feedback has come in. And we will go through that first. What is new in Ground of Aces? We will go through some of the new assets, some of the new game mechanics. I will show some regular pictures of the new assets, but Jeremy will go into more detail regarding the game mechanics and actually play the game and show you what's there. And ultimately we'll have a Q&A where you can ask your questions, any remaining questions, but of course you can ask them now if you so wish. This is the first question that we asked. And the first question is, what is your overall gut feeling about the alpha? How much did you like it? So we like to ask this question immediately after the player has played the game while the emotions are still fresh. On the Alpha 2 release, we got a 7.3 rating out of 10, and now that has actually gone up to an 8.3, and that was a very, very nice moment when I opened up the survey and saw the results. Got a whole point more there. That's it's good for us to know that we're going in the right direction, right? Obviously, we aim for that 10, that's great, but as we're still, in an alpha stage, it's great to see that we're going in the right direction and that the game has actually improved. That tells us that we managed to listen to your feedback, we managed to implement this feedback, and we gained an extra point based on that feedback. So it's very, very nice to see. It's very interesting for us to see how many hours you play, because as this is a base building game, these games tend to be very grindy and the gameplay can go on for very long. And it is our goal that you get to be entertained for as long as possible during these games. So on the Alpha 2, we had an average rating of 2.8 hours. This is an estimation by you guys when you answer this question. And now we've gone up an entire hour, almost 4 hours of gameplay. You can see that's a very long, flat tail here. Then some people have even gone 10 plus hours, which is amazing. It's really, really great to see. On the challenging aspect, so we wanted to know, is the gameplay engaging and challenging? And this number has also been increasing since Alpha 1. We got a 6.0 on Alpha 2, and now we got a 7. So the game is getting a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging, and that's the goal. The new mechanics that we've added, we've got like new missions coming in. It's not so easy to build and grow and maintain your base. It should be challenging. That's what should happen. So seeing this go up is also a great indicator for us. This is actually a new question that we implemented. Jeremy wanted us to ask this question. How many planes did you have stationed on your base on your longest playthrough? So this is kind of on the game development side, really interesting to know how many planes that you managed to implement into your game after so and so many hours, right? So we got like a nice average there of somewhere between 2 and 3 planes on the base, which I think is fair given, I guess the average was, how many hours did I say? 3.8 hours, you get 2 planes. That sounds about right for me. One big thing that has been an issue since the beginning of the game, since we first released it to the public, was that it was challenging to learn. It was difficult to learn from the get-go. So we had an average rating of, when it came to the question, how easy was it to learn and understand the gameplay mechanics? In Alpha 2, we got an average of 4.9, and now we've got a 6.1. So there's a little bit of a bias here, because many people have been playing the game for a while, maybe watching the video, so the game has, of course, gone easier for these people. We did differentiate in this survey between people who are playing for the first time and people who have been playing previous versions already. And if I remember correctly, people who have been playing for the first time, the average rating there was 5.3. So slightly better than the 4.9 earlier, but still needs a little tutorial work there. And that was also a lot of the feedback that people had written in manually, that some things still needed some explanation, especially within some of the new mechanics and new systems that we implemented, like gardening, which we'll get into later on, was not very clear for everyone, which is absolutely fine. Still very valuable feedback, and great to see that the average rating also here has gone up. We asked you in kind of like open questions, what did you like the most? Were there any mechanics or features that you were particularly interested in, that you enjoyed specifically? If you were to break down the game into its individual pieces, it's pretty much all listed here, right? So base building aspect, the overall feel of the game, the art style, the mission systems, the planes, the supply chain management, so the automation of getting food and letting that run by itself, harvesting, letting it run by itself. That seemed to be something that was well received. And with that, the gardening. A couple of people explicitly mentioned the incremental growth in the game, which is something that's really crucial for any base building game. Someone really specifically said that they liked the trees in the game. I don't think I had heard that before. Great to see that all of the assets are being appreciated. The notifications of the crew getting upset or tired, so little dialogues that pop up every now and then. Managing crew in real time was also mentioned as a very satisfying experience. And one very nice thing that I particularly wanted to have stand out here, someone said it was addictive and I wanted to build the perfect base. And that's kind of the feeling that we want to get, right? We want people to be addicted or passionate about what they're doing, having fun in what they're doing, and they kind of want to always get that next step in the game, improve your base, get the better planes, etc. And on the flip side, we asked, what can we improve? What were some features that were perhaps difficult or frustrating, or anything that we can do better? And as we expected, with regards to the earlier questions, it was hard to figure out the play initially. So the game does lack a tutorial, and there is a reason for that, because the game changes with every alpha iteration. Creating a tutorial from the get-go is challenging, because then you might have to just change it already every time you create a new alpha, and that's very time-consuming. And resource-wise, it just makes sense to keep the tutorials at a minimum or very simplistic. So it's hard to figure out the play initially. Completely understand that. Some of the icons at the stations are confusing. There were some buggy missions. The gardening needs explanation. So many of these are really just tutorial things, right? Crew overview, room for UI improvement there. Finding crops on the map. I must say I struggle with that too. I play with the maps a lot. Like I said, hundreds of hours into the game, but I still find myself looking for resources on the map every now and then. So whoever wrote that, I absolutely relate to that. The deconstruction needs a little bit of overhaul. So there's some things, especially when you're trying to debuild roofs or cancel building of roofs, that seems to be something that is very reoccurring. Or specifically picking something to deconstruct or debuild, like individual things. That seems to be something that's been an issue since I think Alpha 1. The working schedule needs more micromanagement for individual workers. It was actually very nice to see this feedback. So there were some people who enjoyed the scheduling mechanics, where you can move around the priorities, but they would have appreciated even more micromanagement to kind of delegate more specific tasks to people individually rather than on a larger scale, right? So that's actually very nice to see. Icons over runway drops FPS a lot. I absolutely agree. The icons over the runway are a huge challenge. Tutorial overall and canceling buildings as they're being built, as I said, with this, particularly with the roof, that was a reoccurring issue. So this is just in a nutshell. There were, of course, more and very detailed things there, but I picked out the stuff that were the most prominent among the reviewers. On the art style, and Dave, our artist, will love seeing this. Alpha 2 had a rating of 8.1, and now we have a rating of 8.5. So we're moving up in the world in terms of art style. I guess we have a lot of more assets coming in there, and it's probably a bit biased, but we also had some more planes now. So that probably helped with the aesthetics of the game, because the planes are gorgeous. And this was probably arguably my most favorite reply. At the end, we ask you a question: are you looking forward to the game? After playing this game, how much are you looking forward to the full release of the game, right? And we had an 8.4 in the earlier release, and now we have a 9.4 even, and that was absolutely ridiculous. And again, there was this differentiation between people who had played the previous alpha versions and new people, but they both were over 9, so the average was over 9. It was amazing to see. So there were a couple of new assets in the game. Number one is this amazing visual that Dave, our artist, made. So Dave is kind of like a savant when it comes to art stuff around here. You can give him just general ideas, just 5 words, and he would turn that into an absolute masterpiece. So basically for this artwork, we said we need something that kind of emphasizes the planes, emphasizes action, but also has some people in it, And then he comes up with this, and it's absolutely phenomenal, and it's really iPhone wallpaper worthy. Asset-wise, we have a new fuel tank, which is essential for the actual gameplay. So it's not just like a cosmetic that we might have, like a dartboard that we had for the previous release. This fuel tank actually has a function, and it contains fuel, which you will need to refill your plane. And that's something that Jeremy will get into later on when he plays the game. And below us, you will see a metal shelf. Right now, it's purely ornamental. You can't stack anything in it yet. And the whole mess that you see on the right side, those are individual parts of the hangar. So we have a new hangar system. It works basically the same as all of the other buildings that you can build. You have your walls, your roof, and your floors, and you can combine it to build a hangar of your choice, whatever size you want. And it's completely out of metal, obviously. This is also a very big addition. These are the assets for the new gardening system. So in the new gardening system, you have, in the middle here, you have your new, what do you call it, water pumps. Up top, you actually have the food. So the new farming system is divided into seeds and the actual food itself. So you can harvest seeds and the food. And we have, oh, help me out, here we go, wheat, potatoes, tomatoes, and beans. These are the 4 resources that you can harvest. They all have different yields. They give different amount of seeds and different amount of food for your base, so depending on what you need. But I think this was probably the most well-received update in the game, the 4 new planes. Bristol Beaufighter, the Avro Lancaster, the Gloucester Gladiator, and the Bristol Blenheim are the 4 new planes, and they are gorgeous. I love World War II planes, so seeing this in the game was just very, very satisfying, especially the Lancaster, just such a huge beast in the game. And once you see that plane landing in, it's just, it gives a very, very different feel for the game. So for the longest time, the game actually didn't have that many planes. We were working with the Hurricane and Spitfire for the longest time. And the guys worked really hard on it to get the art style congruent with the art style of the rest of the game. I think it came out really, really well. They are gorgeous. And when Jeremy plays it later, he will call in some of the planes and then we can have a look at them together. So in terms of new mechanics, this is actually slowly where Jeremy can come in. But just to give you a short overview, the gardening system looks like this now. So you're in the middle of the screen. You can highlight the area where you want to build your garden. And then a little window will pop up asking you what exactly you want to plant there, right? If you want to plant seeds, you click on seeds. Or if you want to plant the food itself, you can plant the food itself. And then you will choose which food you want out of the 4 that I had mentioned earlier. So this is what your garden can look like. So here we have like 4 little spaces. I like to create 4 little 4x4 squares. Top 2 usually is seed for 2 different types of food, and the bottom 2 will be food itself, right? The whole mission system has had a real overhaul and it feels great now. There's this sense of achievement when you actually manage to send your planes off to the mission and they come back successfully. But I think now I can hand over to Jeremy, who will walk you through these mechanics and you can actually see them in action. So,
hello everybody, welcome to the demonstration stream for the newly released Alpha 3. Our last Alpha was our Alpha that we did in summer. Since then, we've been hard at work with this update here. We will, however, update the pacing of alphas quite significantly now. Going further from here, you can expect a newer alpha with less features than this one, actually releasing pretty soonish after this stream. I am gonna load a save that Ben gladly prepared for me. So let's go to a low base first. Let's start with the one feature that is, obviously the least, let's say, base buildery, and let's start with the gardening. Newly in the function areas down here, you can see this new gardening zone tool. So gardening zones, contrary to storage zones, are highlighted through these greenish and leafish squares. And when you have a gardening zone, you can decide what you want to plant in it. We have 4 different types of things you can put in there. Grains, we have beans, we have potatoes and tomatoes, and you will need to decide whether you want to do seeds there or whether you want to do food there. So for example, you can say, hey, we would like grain seeds. Now, you actually need to find most of these seeds around you, and you need to keep your eye open. So for example, here we have 4 new wild bean bushes. And I can basically tell my people, hey, please harvest these bushes for some seeds. And then here in my gardening zone, I actually changed my mind. I would like beans, and we should do bean seeds here. And that is basically how you're starting with gardening. All of these 4 seeds have like different properties. Grains are the ones that grow the fastest, but also have the slowest yield. Beans are kind of overpowered right now. You can expect them to become way weaker soonish. Potatoes are the highest yields, and tomatoes are actually special because you don't need any seeds anymore. So tomatoes you can keep on harvesting, they will regrow. So even though their yield isn't that great, it is pretty easy with tomatoes to not have a seed field in. As last time, you've already seen that you can basically upgrade your runways, right? So to get to different tiers. But the tiers now are way more important than they've ever been before, because if you are looking at the airplane roster, you can see that we're now going from airstrip tier 1, which has the Gloucester Gladiator in it, to the Hawker Hurricane. So no more, let's say, starting with the Hurricane. We have now this Gloucester Gladiator as the starter plane. Also, how nice is this, right? We now have a 3D preview of all the planes. You can now see all the planes in here, and I love that. You can look at them from all sides. You can expect whether we did a good job. And you're getting a preview of which pilot you will get with the plane. Basically, we also upgraded our randomizer of characters. So maybe you noticed that if you started Alpha 2, you got like pretty much the same crew every time, but now the randomizer will okay, I love you, Walker. Damn, he's badass. But like you will get like totally different people now every time. Currently we haven't tweaked the randomizer that much. You get quite a lot of people with eye patches and mustaches and whatever, and please don't tell us, hey, pilots can't wear glasses. Yes, we know. We will tweak all of that as well, but basically you can now see that like the variety of people that you can get, and we're also very interested in feedback whether you can tell them apart from afar, right? Because that's kind of one of our goals, that like Neil Anderson here, you would actually be able to pick out Neil Anderson when you're having like a high view from afar. So beforehand, when an airstrip was built, you had to really do each tile manually, one by one, which for large airstrips, as some of you said at the end of Alpha 2, took like ages. So we're talking of weeks of work of building an airstrip. And while this might be somewhat realistic, it is also kind of boring to watch your game several hours, people just building airstrips. So now, when you do terraforming tasks, it will automatically convert a certain range of the tile that the people have been working on. So you can see it right here that there's actually kind of a 5x5 tile that is being converted here each time. And this drastically increases the speed at which you can build airstrips. So you can see like this airstrip building, and the way to the first planes is actually kind of rapid like that. Here, by the way, are also two new objects to the game. So we have this damaged car here, which is worth a bunch of metal. And we have these old fences. And the thing is, I mean, you can actually harvest these and be like, yeah, I would like to reuse this old fence and this car here. So there's now also 3 different sizes of parking spots. We have the regular parking, but we have the bigger and the very big parking spot. When placing parking spots, you can see that it will also tell you where these planes will take off from. There's like this neat little arrow here that on one hand shows you what the takeoff side is and also how the plane will get there. There also have been subtle changes to the map in general. So we added a few more herb bushes. We also added quite a bunch of more sand pits and clay pits that are in the distance in the maps, so that even if you're playing for longer times, you will not run out of clay and sand. There's also a few new neat little secrets. So for example, here you can see a grain reservoir. Right now, it's actually kind of easy to have like your happy little farm kind of. So you have some people, they sleep a lot, they eat a lot, they just farm some beans and they're really happy. In an upcoming change, there's going to be more punishment if you actually don't participate in the war. Let's just say it like that. The planes are tied to airstrips, of course, so I can't get a Hawker Hurricane right now because my airstrip tier is too low. I have a tier 1 airstrip. Same for a Spitfire, but additionally, if I would want to get a Blenheim, I actually also need a bigger parking spot because a Blenheim cannot land on a small parking spot. But let's get some gladiators in. So the Gladiator is your new standard first base, a small airplane. And as far as I understand, the Gladiator was also kind of that during the war. It was a relic of World War I, more or less, that was still being used by the RAF at the beginning of World War II and was quickly then replaced by the Hurricane and the Spitfire because it was just not up to par in being able to being a reliable fighter. So of course, I mean, my planes cannot land if I don't have a proper runway. Okay, there we go. These two bushes are out of the way and the Gladiators are more than ready to come into the runway. So what you can already see here is also that there's way more depth to the planes in general. If you hover over them, you can see that they've gotten integrity, similar to things that are just laying about have an integrity, right? There's like a 93% integrity here on this clay pile. Planes will now also deteriorate if you don't build any housing for them, which is where the hangars will come in. You can repair that, and anybody who is on your base who has the new plane maintenance category in here, which is, by the way, every pilot and every airman that will come in with a plane by default will automatically repair planes, maintain planes, and refuel planes. Because that's the other thing. So currently we have a 100 health on this Gladiator, but if you're going on to missions, these missions can be dangerous and you can get damages while flying on the missions. So that's another thing. You will need to repair the planes as well. And repairing the planes needs the airplane part, the repair part. Where is it? And then the last thing is fuel. So every mission that you fly has a certain fuel cost to it. And this will depend on how far away the mission is. Now, in the same way, every plane will have its own size of fuel tank. This is just an abstraction of how much fuel versus fuel consumption it would be. You know, basically, currently, all the planes use the same amount of fuel if they go on a mission. But you will need to take care that there will be fuel on your base. And this is where the new fuel tank comes in, which needs cement. Need to make some cement. Ah, there we go. We have our first mission. So we have a light fighter interception mission that came in. So we did a ton of work on the mission system. We never really explained how the old missions in Alpha 2 worked, and now I can basically tell you that they were insanely silly. Basically, it just had a randomness of how many other planes were in there, and then it depended on how many planes you sent. So you always wanted to send as many as possible, and then there was a certain chance that these planes would die when they came back. Now the mission system got way, way deeper. So for every mission, you have a type. So this is a light fighter interception mission that has a fight requirement. You can see that on the top right here with the sword icon, that this is a bit of an unsure mission. There's an enemy scout reported in our airspace, and we need to intercept it now. And we will need to have a fight strength of between 5 and 25 if the mission goes as planned. Now, every plane I send in there has a certain strength in different categories that they give into the mission. So every Gladiator I send adds 14 to 20 in fight strength they send. So if I send one of my Gladiators, you can see the chance of this mission being successful is 76%. We have some modifiers here. Now Leslie is, first of all, in a good mood. Good for him. I guess he is pretty fresh. If he would haven't had any bed to sleep for a while, he wouldn't be in this good of a mood. And he's also very confident. He's young, he's fresh to the base. He feels like the war is going well. So this gives actually a modifier to it. Still, chances of this going well are not certain. I could bolster it with another plane. I could send another Gloucester Gladiator there with Duncan Kane, for example, and now we can see that the success estimate is actually 100%. However, there is a chance that a mission does not go as planned, and this chance depends on how risky the mission is. There could be something that you don't know, indicated with the question mark happening, and then maybe some totally different skill is needed. Maybe the mission suddenly turns into a bombing mission, or it turns into a skill mission where your pilots need to fly as nimbly as possible. It could turn into a mission where they need to be undetected, and if you have a large squadron, you send like 2 Lancasters and 3 Spitfires, the chances of them being undetected is virtually nothing. So you will need to observe and learn what missions could turn into, and you need a diverse roster of different planes to kind of have a good grasp on the eventualities. So there's currently only a risk of 10% that this mission does not go as planned. We have one enemy scout reported, so I'm just gonna send my guys off, and this should be fine. Okay, our people get home, and we can see here that the fighter interception was successful. We actually already got another tab with a light bomber interception where we only have 4 hours, so maybe I should send anybody who's available to intercept the bombers here in the meantime. So there we go. Oh, it actually turned into a different mission. Interesting. This wasn't scripted, but this is nice. So basically they got away as they noticed our planes taking off, and we needed to do a recon check to still find them through the clouds. But in this case, our guys were really good in surveillance. The Gloucester Gladiator is also a good plane for surveillance, so that worked out nicely for us. But if we would have sent something that is not as good in recon, for example a Hurricane, this could have turned into a failure now. Is there already like a question that has been in the room?
Victor78 asked, is there going to be any tobacco plants? Yeah, sorry, I said it wrong. So can you grow your own cigars? I don't know. No,
I actually don't even know if tobacco can grow in Britain. That's one thing.
Yeah.
And the boring answer here is, of course, we don't know what it means for age ratings around the world if we have tobacco in them. So this has been a discussion for a while now that we haven't properly taken care of yet. Alcohol references, references to tobacco, such things, you know, even like performance-boosting drugs in the case of Nazi Germany are a difficult subject for age ratings. And while it's not like the harshest thing if we get like a high age rating, I mean, this is obviously a game for people with mature tastes and who something about the war. We still don't know if it would mean that it wouldn't be available at all in some countries.
Calrissian asked, maybe there could be a sport area to improve physical health of the crew members?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently all our people on the base don't have unique or individual stats. They have their own morale, of course, so they have their own confidence, their own energy and mood, which forms the overall base morale of your base. But currently they don't have any skills or also any quirks or personalities in that case. Will this be part before the early access? Probably not. I think we still have a lot to do in building up more core systems and more important systems when it comes to things like this.
Then a different user in the Twitch chat, the Aurora engine, asked about supplies from the outside. Did those airbases back then have railroad lines? Because this user, he drives trains for a living, and that would be loco.
We haven't considered railroad lines yet. That is interesting, but I have no idea, to be honest. Okay, let's get back to the base here. So Ben prepared a bigger base here to kind of show off some of the more majestic planes here. So here is a single tier 4 runway, which, I mean, your base of course will be more glorious than that once you get to tier 4, because you don't only have like 3 tents and some pumps somewhere and a lot of planes. I expect you to have multiple runways, you know, have like a mass hall where they will be cooking, different quarters for pilots and everything. This is just more for an example reason, of course. Now let's get to the plane. So right now I would be ready to really get anything. So on the tier 2, we have the good old Hawker Hurricane. Most of you who played the previous alpha are already very familiar with the Hawker Hurricane. It was like our default plane that you would get at the beginning. And I mean, it's a good all-rounder. It's pretty bad at scouting. But other than that, and yeah, it pretty much is also very bad at bombing, of course. But other than that, it's a decent plane that will last you for a long time. Together with it, you now can also get the Bristol Beaufighter. And the Bristol Beaufighter is our first multi-role plane. So the Beaufighter is really interesting because it's kind of a jack of all trades, but it needs a medium-sized parking spot, and it also comes with 2 people. So yes, planes now have more than 1 crew member. Beforehand, we only had the pilot. In this case, we get an additional gunner. Louis Gallagher will be our gunner here. So if I get both a Beaufighter, both of them will arrive. Now this means also you have more mouths to feed and more logistics to take care of. And as I said, you need the medium-sized parking spot for them, which is the size here on the left. But the Beaufighter can do everything quite nice. It has good recon capabilities. It has decent transport power. It has decent bombing power, but it can also fight okay-ish thanks to its second gunner. So there, the Bristol Blenheim. So this is the first bomber you can get, and it needs a tier 3 runway, so pretty wide, and you will need to get to the Blenheim in a decent time, because you will get served bombing missions from time to time. Now, Bristol Blenheim comes with 3 people, so we have the pilot, of course, but we also have a navigator and a gunner that comes with it. Now, all things considered, the Blenheim wasn't that successful of a bomber. It was like a very early bomber that was later then replaced by several others. It also has a pretty limited bomb load, but as your first utility plane to be able to take on bombing missions, it's a nice plane. But it is, of course, doesn't hold a candle to the iconic Avro Lancaster. There it is. So the Lancaster comes with a crew of 7. You basically had the pilot, you had a radio operator, you have a flight engineer, you have a bomb aimer, you have a navigator and 2 gunners. But there it is. So just from a pure size perspective, comparing this to the Spitfire beforehand kind of shows the insane scale that we're dealing with here. Also, and that's on me, currently it has a bit too much of a run landing length, so it will overshoot the runway a bit. Please ignore that. But there they are. Look, there's the full Lancaster crew. Now, all of this, of course, also needs to be managed. And here is our new plane management feature that we've built up. So here you can see all the planes that you currently have stationed on your base. There is, not everything is fully functional in here yet. So for example, the plane designation is always ACA currently. They will get like proper designations, of course, but you can see here that now you could also switch out and get other people into these seats, right? So So if we have like another navigator, we would like to get somewhere, we can switch them out. And here also comes like a new function in the game. It actually makes sense to have a gunner in the gunner seat, but you don't have to have a gunner in the gunner seat. You could also get a navigator as your mid gunner, but you will get a penalty for this when you go on missions. Now currently you will always have the full crew that you need for a plane, so this is not an issue. But as soon as we're getting to people dying, people being sick, people not being able to go on a mission, you suddenly need to figure out, okay, who could be my best gunner that I can use here, who could I put where, and so on. So all of this is done in the new plane crew management screen. Next to buildings, we now have the hangar menu. And in the hangar menu, you can build hangar walls. So let's take this Spitfire here and let's build a nice hangar around it. This works exactly the same way as it works with like regular walls and floors and everything. Again, you should not forget the floor here. So you will need a lot of metal to construct these. In Alpha 3, we drastically upped the amount of metal you can create out of metal workbenches to make it easier for you to actually build nice hangars for all of your planes. And you can see like these can get absolutely massive in size. If you want to properly store a Lancaster, you will need to build a huge hangar for it.
RV Calrissian, is it necessary to build a refugee for each one plane, or can we make one huge hangar for 3 or 4 planes at once?
Absolutely. You can build like a large hangar for all of your planes if you want to. Now this currently will really take a while, and I think that's fine. That's just how it is currently. But yeah, you can build one large roof. Any other questions?
Yeah. The same user asked, will we be able to change the work priorities of the soldiers one by one? Not all of them at the same time. I want one to work on the fields, another the construction work.
So you can definitely already change that some of them only work on specific stuff, which I really recommend that you do. I think you should always have like one person who only hauls around stuff, for example, and somebody else who's like the designated cook and he hauls when there's nothing to cook, for example. Yeah. So that is definitely a good idea. What we currently don't have yet is that you can also prioritize them individually. Not just on a binary state like yes or no, but like this is more important than that. That's not possible right now. It has been requested a lot though, I have to admit. I kind of thought that it's not important, and now all of you guys are kind of telling me, no, this is actually very important. So currently it is not planned in yet when it will come, but I have to admit it probably needs to come at some point, because a lot of you would like to have more control over these type of things.
RV Calrissian also asked about if it's possible to make it possible to move the items yes, without destroying the existing ones and making new ones.
Yes, that is coming as well. We actually have an internal debugging move tool already that we only use for testing purposes. It is kind of wonky right now. Sometimes if you, for example, if you right click while moving something, that thing might disappear forever and stuff like that. So it's not quite ready to be shipped yet. What I can already tell you though is you will not be able to instantly move things, but you can say, I want this table there, and then they will debuild the table and build the table again. So there will be consequences for you not planning properly in advance. However, the whole process of moving something from A to B will be easier for you because you don't have to destroy it and then rebuild it manually and so on. So it will still take labor, but you don't need to do all the steps on your own.
Is it planned for near development to implement taxi roads with placeable waypoints to make it possible that we let planes move a proper way from parking to the runway and back? Such would boost immersion big time and gives nicer options for the layout of the base.
We haven't yet considered that you can set the waypoints, but as I hinted to beforehand, one of the next things that we're doing is that planes by different sizes take different ways, and so they basically all have their own navigational system that they're doing. They're also not as easy to be pushed anymore, I think. So we're kind of tweaking that right now. I like the idea of being to say stuff like this manually. I'm not 100% sure if this would be then for every parking spot, for example, or it raises some questions how it would work in detail, but I like it. So they're currently here building the final roof for this. This will take a bit, but so I can show you kind of what a hangar looks like. There's like a bigger one in progress here, which will take even on triple speed several minutes for me to finish. It was also kind of to show you that building up like a proper base with proper hangars and everything will get a totally different scope than we had before. I mean, here that is just a Blenheim hangar basically, and here's our starter tent. So you can imagine if all of this is getting hangared up, and we even have more space for taxiways in between. This will get quite massive, which is actually what we want, right? We want people to feel like it's going to become this sprawling big space over time, like this massive base that you're working on, where the people, like the starting point and the resource piles are all like really, really tiny, and you have like these tons of airplanes and runways there and people doing their stuff, and you're managing all of this, right? At least that is kind of the vision of what the overview of an airbase then kind of would look like. Also, we improved how people walk at triple speed, if you noticed that. Ben is already really happy about that.
With the pathfinding or the speed?
Yeah, the pathfinding.
Yeah.
It's basically that, like when you're on triple speed, like this happens a lot.
They get stuck.
People just dance between the water pumps. Heads up to Ben to building a base here for a showcase that has like 6 water pumps that get on the way to the to the workbenches. Very nice. I mean, like this we can at least talk about the issues that we're currently facing. Do it.
Have you guys considered including different variants of the various aircraft?
Yeah. So when we're talking about variants, we're talking mostly about different marks of airplanes, right? Mm-hmm. And this is kind of an interesting subject, I think, because like some airplanes, like the Spitfire, for example, have been in service for a long time, from like a Mark 1 to a Mark 16 or anything up. All through the war, and they performed radically different, were used for different tasks or something like this. Currently, we are focusing on building up our base roster of planes that we have. This does not mean, though, that we're not going to have different Spitfire marks potentially, but we're still kind of trying to figure out where is the balance there. Would people rather have different planes because it's fun to have a Lancaster and a Blenheim and a Spitfire and maybe a Typhoon and a Defiant and a Lysander, as you can see here? Or would you guys actually prefer it if there is no Lysander and no Defiant? Actually, the Defiant we already made, so it's coming. But the Lysander, for example, would you rather have 2 different Spitfire marks because they're easier to produce instead of a completely new plane like a Lysander? And I think that is a discussion that would be interesting to hear, like what you find more interesting here. So there we go. There's our first hangar model. We can now take this even further and get some get some fencing around that as well, right? So there's a whole new category of metal-based items you can build on your base, which look really nice. Just a shelf. Yeah, I think that's it for the showcase, I guess. I'll relocate to the couch, I guess. And then we take care of all the rest of the questions. So write your questions in the chat, anything you would like to know.
So I have a new question here in the chat from the Aurora engine. How many people actually work on the game? How big is your team?
So we're 11, I think. Right now we are pretty much the full team on the game. There have been times in the Alpha 1 and Alpha 2 where we were more like half of the studio, roughly. But right now we're like really focused on the game, which also kind of explains why we are upping the pace of alphas now coming all the way to the early access.
Nice. So 12 with BB. Okay.
Yeah, 12 with BB. Although I have to say BB didn't contribute much lately, and I think BB needs to step up the game. We want to see more results in Ground of Aces, BB.
Yeah, it was more focused on First Strike on our other game where it was more involved.
I guess you can ask Ultra Coffee how much BB contributes to First Strike. Okay, I guess.
For example, one person asked, it's also regarding the skills of the single characters, and also if it's possible to give them like different needs. Like one crew member needs more luxurious environment, and the other is a blue collar worker who does not really give a shit where he's sleeping.
Yeah. I mean, like generally, I feel like we would be really happy if the game really turns into this base management game where you know the people who are in there and you really feel that they're also different and have quirks and everything. Now, a lot of this in a base builder, a lot of systems have to build up kind of like an onion. That's kind of why we were asked a long time, so why are you making this game and then you're basically harvesting mushrooms and making food all the time, because that is basically the first layer. Then on top of that layer now comes the gardening system. Now on top of that layer comes a system where you're getting shipments from your HQ, but you need to do stuff for the HQ. And then over that, I feel like individualism and stuff like this will also, or at least I think should be something that should come, because only then you really feel like you care about the people in your base, which is kind of one of our mission objectives for this game. Like one of our core pillars is that you should feel sad and bad if you didn't manage the base well to keep your people safe. And I feel like them not just being faceless workers that do tasks, but actually feel like they have their small things that make them unique would be really important.
It's really great. In the Discord, we have the channel for suggestions for the game, and I think it's one of the most active channels. Like people just add their ideas and their wishes. Like one person, also a very specific thing they are talking about, like on all workbenches, instead of make or create X amount, for them it would be nicer to have the option to maintain 15 in stockpile. Yes. So you always have it.
So I can already talk about this, that yes, this is something we're currently working on right now. This is also, by the way, one of the most requested features from Moritz, our CEO. He really would like to have a setting that, for example, a workbench with planks will create planks until there's at least 20 planks on the base. So this is something we are currently working on, and hopefully we will get it in by Alpha 4. I'm not 100% sure yet, because we still need to test and verify whether it works, but it is kind of on the top of our to-do list right now.
Then Blaze, the Protogen in the chat, asks also, what aircraft are you planning of adding in the future? I have a few suggestions if you want ideas. Yeah.
Hey, we're always happy for ideas. I think it's there's like a very delicate balance there, because there's a lot of consideration. So one consideration is, of course, how iconic was this aircraft now for the RAF, for example, in the war? So I mean, like, of course, a Lancaster or a Spitfire needs to be in our game. Then the other consideration is how many planes of this type do we already have in the game, and how frequent are missions of this type. So we generally can use more fighters and more bombers than we can use transport machines or multi-role planes, for example. But we still would like some, because it's important to have some, right? I wanted to not only be always a progression, so not every plane should always be better than the last one, but you should also have a choice in, hey, I might want to have 2 multi-role planes instead of the very expensive top line fighter, because I can maintain 4 people instead of 1 pilot, and then send both of them on missions, for example. So that's the other thing. What we are currently producing, so it's realistic that they will come at some point. I can't tell you yet where, and it's not going to be the next alpha. So the Defiant, the Defiant will be something that's definitely coming. We have the the Meteor that is currently in production. And we're having 2 bombers that are in production, the Flying Suitcase, and one I would like to keep a secret for now, because some of you might like it.
To have the option to build a small house for the cats and dogs who can function as squadron good luck bringer. That's an idea that they have.
Sure. So, I mean, we kind of already committed a bit to pets, right? You've maybe seen Alpha the dog roam around in the Alpha. He's not very smart right now. Alpha might be upgraded to beta at some point. And of course, this also means that base pets is something we would like, just because we feel like it's kind of cute and it's kind of nice. And there's like all of these stories, like that one pilot who had a lion as a pet and stuff like that. That is just insane. Plus, you can kind of give a lot of flavor to the region where you are if you include a pet that is like of that geographic region, right? So if you have like a very British dog on an RAF base, that already kind of is like nice storytelling. So yeah.
Another thing from the Discord, again from Beerguard, he gives us a lot of feedback. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. He had an idea regarding plane exchanging. Like if you got 3 gladiators and 3 parking spots, then you earn victory points. So he's already talking about victory points. You want to upgrade to a Hurricane, then you have to be able to get rid of 1 gladiator in order to make space for the new, better Hurricane.
Oh, we could turn Ground of Aces into a match game, like a merge game. You know which one? Like the mobile game. So you merge 2 gladiators into a Hurricane, and then you merge the Hurricanes into a Spitfire.
Yeah.
Like, fantastic. Now, in all seriousness, yes, we're working on something there. So one thing, again, as a teaser for Alpha 4 is you will get victory points for successful missions, but all the planes except the Gladiator will cost victory points to get. So higher tier planes like a Spitfire will actually cost more to get. A Lancaster will be very pricey, which should make them more valuable to you. But we're also adding a feature that you can decommission planes. So if you don't want the Gladiator anymore because you want to use the parking spot, you will not get anything for it, but you can tell the crew to basically fly away and leave the base. So these 2 things will be coming. Right now, we understand that if you have 10 planes, which is the current maximum, which is an arbitrary maximum, by the way, this can change in the future or will change in the future, but currently we just limit it to 10. The only way to get rid of your planes is actually to send them on suicide missions, which is not very... It's not a great feeling, but that's just how it is right now. But this will change. You will be able to just say, hey, I don't want this Blenheim crew anymore. And you just send them off, and then you have a free parking spot to get something else. If you can afford it with victory points.
Okay, another maybe a bit more serious question regarding gameplay. Again, Beerguard. He suggested there should be tooltips for each planes explaining the base stats they got for which task, intercept, bombing, recon, transport. And then especially when victory points coming, it's needed to know which planes you wish to get next to get the better squadron.
That is a good point, yes. So, I mean, currently you can kind of deduct how good is a plane by putting them in the mission menu. You can switch like different plane types, and then you can see, look, this is way better in this, and this is way better in that. Absolutely. But you don't know this currently when you order a plane. And I kind of fear that you might also don't know it when you order it in Alpha 4, which is even worse because then it will cost something. So that is actually a very good point, that maybe at least on an abstract level we should, with bars or something like this is a 3 out of 5 attack plane or something, might be a good idea. We should bounce that in the team, whether this is actually possible. Because we made the quartet cards, right? We already know what the values are in bars. So maybe we should add that.
I think that a different user on this got mentioned. Horny Hippo is the name of this user.
Great choice.
Yeah. He was wondering if we can encourage NPCs to walk on paved paths. Yeah. Give them a movement speed. What lieutenant would want their people walking on bases perfectly manicured grass?
Okay. So there's 2 answers there. Right now, you will have a movement bonus, although just a small one, what if you actually pave your base. So going from dirt to sand to tarmac makes people slightly faster, and it actually makes planes a lot faster. So you will want to do this on the way to the runway coming soon. We're currently, but there's a but in there. We've been testing out a system that would also have your planes smartly know that and calculate that, and people as well, so they will take the most optimal route. And that actually turned out to be a performance killer pretty heavily currently, which is a big problem for us right now because we don't really want to change our whole pathfinding system just for people to walk a bit around an edge of a grass field. So currently the solution will be they will still take the most direct route to wherever they want to go, but if you want that to make more sense or to be faster, then you need to pave these ways that you need a lot.
Yeah, okay. Then someone in the Twitch chat, Blaze the Protogen, he's saying RCAF was also involved a little, and as a Canadian, I would love to see maybe something representing the RCAF. So the Canadian RCAF, not the... Canadian Air Force? Yeah, Royal Canadian Air Force. Yeah, it's a...
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, realistically, of course, like there's so many nations involved all in all. We'll need to figure out what we can do. Now, one thing we are already kind of know is that by the early access launch, we will most likely not have a skin system yet. So all planes will come with one default, let's say, painting they will have on them. And there's probably not be that much variety on it. So this makes changing the nationality of a plane a bit more of a hassle than it would need to be if it's the same plane, if you get what I mean. We basically would need to have a duplicate plane in there. But as soon as we have, a system to change camos and such, then switching maybe even to a different nationality of a plane would be way more easy. we're mainly thinking this also, of course, because of Polish planes. As Nuria said, like a lot of our dev team is also in Poland. So Polish representation in World War II, also on the RAF side, is something that sounds really like something that we would like to make happen.
And a similar question in that direction, also from the Discord. Have you guys considered Lend-Lease American planes for the British campaign? So like American planes that were leased to the British, or like given out or rented out?
I will not comment on this for now.
Yeah.
Because we might have something in the oven, but it's too early to give like a definitive answer there.
Just so you know, we
are aware.
We are aware that this is an possibility. Yeah. The British didn't fly just only British planes. Yep. Then someone else on the Discord asked, maybe have the system work something like Rim Worlds, where certain items at different levels of buffs or debuffs. The point was about making nice brick rooms with lots of items and options. So the quality of the room, roof, floor, wall decorations.
Yeah. Now, as I hinted at, it's something that we definitely have on our roadmap and would like to see. We always have to be a bit careful when being compared to RimWorld, because RimWorld is just insanely massive and like has so many details that do something that it's such an insane benchmark of features to shoot for, that we actively also have to say no, we will not have as much stuff as RimWorld, because we will not be able to, you know, do it all on the same quality. So also, I don't want to dismiss it. I feel like it's always good to learn from the most successful and coolest games in the genre, but it's dangerous to just say yes, we will do all of these things as well, because then don't think we would have a game that ever comes out. Yeah. It's just such a highly polished, insanely big game, which also isn't 3D, by the way. That's also a thing, like all of this, doing a RimWorld in 3D would have like so much more work put into it that it's also kind of impossible to reach that benchmark anyway. But that's just like a small tangent, just to say, like sometimes we also just have to intentionally be like, okay, no, it would be really, really cool to do that, but we can't. We need to focus on other stuff. That being said, like I said, we think that at the moment we have a bunch of customization items that are just for decoration and that don't do anything. And it would be good for them to have more meaning, because then it also has more of a point to build them.
Okay, yeah, I will inform the people on Discord that we talked about it. And then, yeah, in the Twitch chat, someone, the Aurora engine had a new question. Does camo actually do something already? You can create the item, or did I just miss it?
No, it doesn't. It's like sometimes at the end of like our production trees, there's some items that don't do anything right now. Ammo is the other thing. You can already craft different ammos. It means we have already made the assets for them, and you can have piles of ammo, but you don't need ammo right now. But of course you will need ammo at some point. The other part of that coin is that you might also not be able to craft ammo anymore at some point, because we're not 100% sure if this is even makes sense. I would rather have all militaristic things be sent to you through your HQ. You cannot just craft a mortar on your base.
Yeah. I think I saw some people say, like on the canning station, you can build bombs.
Yeah. So the canning station right now does not only make cans, which is fine. Yeah. It also makes like regular ammo, bombs, and artillery ammo or something. And that is more for debug purposes, so that if we ever ship a feature, for example, that you now need ammo or that you need bombs for your bomber, there is already a way to get them without cheats or something. So
Yeah.
you can
Oh, that's
test
good.
it out, but we might as well remove that and be like, no, this is silly. The canning station will of course not make that anymore. Or the pressure cooker is an item right now that produces fuel if you wanted to. Which is also like currently a bit on the cutting board because you should not be able to just craft fuel.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good thing that now I know what I can write back to those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some questions on the YouTube videos. Okay.
I mean, it kind of depends also on how much people find it a problem. Sometimes, I mean, you just suspend your disbelief also in a game and you feel like, okay,
Just gets
who
produced,
cares? I mean, I'm crafting an anti-air artillery out of 20 metal and some
Yeah,
machinery.
that's it. Yeah.
Some people might be totally fine with that, and other people are like, no, this is so unrealistic, you would never make an anti-air gun, which I think both of these things is valid, and we need to find out what we want to do it. By the way, we currently don't want to craft anti-air guns. You will need them shipped to you from HQ.
Yeah. And here the Aurora engine now says, so you see, trains delivering bombs. So
And trains delivering anti-air guns. There you have it.
Just
like,
bring
yes.
in trains.
It is actually like, I mean, to be totally frank, I've been thinking that. So we're currently working on a truck, and I've been thinking, how much can that truck even carry?
Yeah.
Can that truck carry multiple anti-air guns? Is that even feasible?
Maybe two.
I mean, I don't care. I mean, in the
Yeah,
end,
yeah,
if I
it does.
wanted to deliver two anti-air
have to
guns,
do
it does. But maybe we need a train.
Yeah.
That is, but that's like, I mean, listen, we are building a World War II air base builder here. And if you
Then
now
you have
tell people, no, you can't have guns until you have a train system, would be like, that's always almost a Trojan horse of a train sim. Like, you're building an airplane base. No, you're building a train simulator now.
Well, next step, next level.
It's like the most detailed World War II train simulator ever.
All right, I'm still checking on Discord. There's one other, I think, good question. Has the devs considered a mechanism where the crew would do first in, first out for quickly degrading materials like food? Meaning that food with least integrity will be cooked first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have, and it should, and it will.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say there. No, of course.
Oh, very
it's,
detailed. But yeah.
I think currently it's closest first, which is like people are like, oh, this food is the closest. I will cook this. But it, I'm not 100% sure if we already did it or whether we're still on the way to do it. But they should prioritize low, like soon degrading foods, so that they cook those first, of course. I think we still have one weird bug that stuff can degrade while you're carrying it to the kitchen.
Oh no, then they just...
No, I don't remember what happens. I think it creates some really weird states because they're trying to put food in, but they don't hold food, so they get really confused.
Oh, okay.
Because they hold
that.
trash.
Yeah,
Like,
so bringing
anyway.
trash to the kitchen, yeah.
I just imagine a cook like grabbing something from the pantry and then on the way to the pantry, it just turns into ash.
Yeah, or mold.
Yeah. What do I do now?
That's funny. Horny Hip on the Discord has another good point. They talked about QuickTime emergency vehicles and events, like as an idea, like a fire brigade, base security, and medical. And he goes into detail, like for example, fire brigade to be dispatched when a badly damaged plane is landing and it's on fire. Or random fires breaking out in your buildings, and then the fire brigade has to go there and put it out and save your stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I can also be pretty frank there and open. Like right now, our navigation system does not support like regular vehicles yet, because regular vehicles just move differently than people and planes. They can't turn on a point, for example. So we first need to build a system that could even do stuff like this and also navigate around obstacles before we can even think of stuff like that. Because another thing we might want to have is tractors, right? So that you can make more difficult base building tasks easier, for example. So if you want to do a lot of tarmac, that you can use a tractor to quickly plane a whole field or something. But we're really not close to this yet. So this will still take some time until we can support something like that.
All right. Yeah, it's also a bigger idea that.
But I like it because it also would like liven up the base.
Yeah, make it more.
I think stuff like this would be really fun. Or there was like, I think on a conceptual level, we always had like this one idea, for example, what if you had a German Luftwaffe base and you would get shipments like every week, like you would, but 1 week you're not getting any rations, but only flags. And then the game tells you like you have 1 week to make your base pretty for Hermann Göring or somebody important to come to your base because they want to see the base like insanely good or something like that. So something like this would be really, really interesting. And then of course you would also have that person arrive in a fancy car and get out or something like this. I'm not saying that we're close to doing something like that, but I think stuff like this could be really, really interesting.
Yeah. Thank you for the questions from the chat and your comments and for watching, of course.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Also, thank you to our Discord community with all their suggestions, discussions, questions. Yeah, keep that up. I mean, we're not able to answer everything that gets added there. I try, but sometimes we just have to collect it and takes too much time to go into detail each time. But yeah, in an opportunity like this, we can discuss and pick it out. And yeah, again, play the alpha, play the demo, tell us what you think about it, fill out.
Use the report tool if you find something that is weird in the game and you would like us to notice. I regularly look into the reports that come in from the, I think it's called report, right?
Give feedback.
Or give feedback, yeah. So the give feedback thing. Press that, you can attach a screenshot, you can tell us what happened here. Yeah. It's not always clear what happened, but it can help us, especially if enough people do it, then we see like, oh, a majority of you have problems there and there with it. That's really nice.
Yeah, it's the best way to inform us about weird issues or something you noticed, whatever. And the survey is the best place to give us your overall impression and thoughts and ideas. So both of that is the best way. Of course, also the Discord is also available for more like discussions, for back and forth. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Ben, I don't know if you want to finish it up.
I just want to say thank you for coming, thank you for your contributions, thank you for your feedback and your ideas. Very much appreciated. There will be another stream soon. Eventually, we will of course keep you posted on that. If you're in the Discord, you will get the ping. Newsletter, you'll get the ping, and on our socials, of course, as well. As they mentioned, play the game, play the demo, give your feedback. That would be really, really great. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. Thank you both for coming here as well and showing the stuff. And you all have a nice day, evening, night, wherever you are, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Awkward Wave.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.